Hello everybody, thank you for watching our video. This is Jimmy Wu from Prowork Pacific Inc, your licensed architect. Today I want to talk about one topic about building. Many owners, when they try to build their house or with renovation, they will find that there is different way to build, and that is they always ask, "Oh, Jimmy, which one I should use?" Okay, today there's a wood light gauge metal frame or CMU, which is concrete masonry unit, or somebody say, the concrete block. So these three type of construction is always we will see it everywhere in town, and they have different characteristics and their advantage, pros and cons, right? Disadvantage, and how do you choose it? So today I want to talk about this. Now it's not that absolutely which one just say better than the other one, and then you should go with that, because you will see all these three in the market, right? In the whole island, everywhere, you will see all these three type construction. They have wood, they have metal frame, they have concrete block. We just see that sometimes with the purpose and with the cost, is all these help you do. Just bring it up this difference between all these three, so to match what you want to do, or to match what your cost or budget is, and you think about that. Okay, so first of all, talk about cost. Now, mainly for doing house, okay, in Honolulu. When we're doing house, mostly right now, the majority of house or residential construction is still done by wood. Yeah, apparently, the reason was the cost. Wood is the most cheapest one. Okay, lower cost within like wood construction, light gauge metal frame construction, and CMU construction. We're talking about, let's say, according to different contractor, okay. Cost of wood frame construction, with per square feet cost about $150 right now in meter frame, meter range. And if you're talking about like you instead of doing wood and you're doing metal frame, they probably will be 10-15% more for doing switching to metal frame. And also if you're doing concrete like CMU wall, there will be more. I heard some go to high as a 50%, about 50% more than wood frame, when you're doing CMU. And some of them is about like 30% to, up in between 30 to 50%. So this is about a cost difference when we're doing, these three. And the next one I want to discuss is about the material properties. That means what is the characteristic about the three material. Let's say for wood construction by itself, we compare with several different perspectives. First of all, maybe the lifetime, which longevity of materials. Apparently, wood, metal, and concrete by itself, concrete lasts almost forever. You can see a lot of buildings, concrete building, you see that over 100 years, it's still very solid. And metal frame, if it doesn't rust, you can keep metal frame also last very long time. And versus wood construction, wood itself, it will last shorter because of the decay, right? And also maybe rotten in the weather. So even usually in the regular weather condition, okay, the longevity of material itself, we'll see the wood and then light gauge frame, and then will be the concrete, right, CMU. And then another main very important property of material itself is combustible. Okay, wood is combustible. That means it can burn. Okay, and light gauge frame, metal frame, and concrete, which is non-combustible, it won't burn. Now, but it's not. When I say non-combustible, it's not saying there's a fireproof. Fireproof is another thing. Okay. Metal is not fireproof. A lot of people think, metal is fireproof material. Metal is not fireproof material. Okay? Metal is just have a higher level of the melting point. Okay, different from wood. Okay? Wood is you can burn, but versus steel and concrete, it won't get burned. It lasts longer. But metal, when it reaches a certain point of the melting point, it will collapse in a second. Okay, so there's a difference. Okay. And I think one of the reasons is this this property is not that obvious, or it doesn't seem to have so much advantage in residential project. Very most likely is it will be important for commercial project. When we do a lot of commercial project, they, building code, fire code require 1 hour rated wall, 2 hour rated wall. Then metal frame, CMU, they will do more better work than wood frame. And then also another part is the material, the hardest. Okay, so we can see that is like wood is more soft, right? And then metal frame, and then concrete. So these also involved to the next one is about the workmanship or flexible to the material itself, the workability. Okay, and by the side, I will talk later. And then, but by itself also is another the material property. So we have talked about some pro side and con side now. Okay, what is the drawback about wood is it could be warping, it could be shrinking and deform. Under the weather, especially in Hawaii. In our strong sunlight, right? With sometimes the wood can be warped. I know you haven't seen it. Even some wood, wood door, exterior door, under the sunlight, maybe 2, 3, or 5 years, you see the wood start warping, because the warping happens because all the water, the moisture inside the wood have been dried out, so it start get warping. Okay? And also can be shrinking, and also being deformed, maybe twisted, bended. So it start making some, some old house. I have seen some old house. The wall starts, start sagging or bending, and the roof, the shape, the truss, start sagging is because it's starting deformed under the sunlight. Or even by itself, by the other reason, maybe the termite, or some other reason. But wood have that problem. Versus now, so light gauge frame is very rigid, right? Very stronger than wood, very rigid and lasts long. But also the drawback is, what we only talk about when it lasts long is when it have a good, sealed, concealed environment, which means the frames inside are protected by the drywall, protected by the exterior sheeting. But if the house envelope is not tight and water can goes in, moisture can goes in, now that becomes a really, really the killing part to the material, because it will start make the steel rusting. Okay. And once metal start rust, you have seen some car, right? Some old car, when they get rust, they start, developing. One corner get a hole and start get rust. You see later on, you see the whole car get rust, right? The same thing can happen to a house. If the metal frame, then would happen. If you have one hole in one corner and water start going in, the rust starts from one spot and then will start spreading over, and then that maybe a whole wall. That happened when we open some drywall. See the studies. A lot of these metal studies, half of it is become fragile, like a soft cracker. You touch it, the whole thing is falling. It's all rusted. Okay. So that will be another drawback if you do not have a good work for the wall. Okay. And then concrete wall. Okay, CMU wall seems the best one, right? It's a long life, right? And very rigid, very solid, right? And it is a good thing. The thing is even I have friends tell me, oh, what if we have some gun shooting case happen, the next door neighbor they have shooting. If I am staying in my house, if my wall is CMU wall, then I'm more safe, which is true, because very likely a bullet cannot go through an 8-inch CMU wall, versus if you have a wood wall or even metal frame, the bullet can go through, because that is advantage. Because the hardest, that is more rigid, even under when we have earthquake, for where earthquake is seismic, the CMU wall can more stronger. Even remember we have last year, we have one time the false alarm about this nuclear bomb from North Korea. And then after that, nuclear missile from North Korea, which is a false alarm. But however, interesting is after that, people start talking about, if there's a real, where can we go? So with people doing study. And the result is, everybody say, if you stay in a building, you better stay in a building with concrete strut and enclosed, which is the exterior is concrete, which is blocks those nuclear, blocks the wave like that. So the CMU wall, that gives you that advantage if there's something like environment or disaster happen. Even if your house may be in an intersection of 2 streets, like a T condition. If this guy was a drunk driver at the midnight, driving this house, this car with 40 miles, 30 miles, and all, not necessarily speeding, but he's just falling asleep, and then the car goes straight to hitting your house. Imagine that if this is a CMU wall house versus a wood construction house, we should get more damage, right? So I mean, this is good part about the stronger about CMU. Okay, but also what's the drawback part is, sure, I mean it costs more higher, and one thing is about cracking. Okay? Sometimes CMU, when the craftsmanship is not good enough, sometimes we have over the years you will start getting some crack. And this crack is about what happens is usually is because of rusting happening inside the reinforcing bar, and then it starts swelling and swell and then pushing out the CMU wall. From the inside pushing out, they start cracking. And next I want to talk about is about the builder challenge, which is the workability or constructability about this material. We talk about wood. So with industry type of construction, wood is the more easy to build because it's easy to cut, right? Easy to handle, and require the minimum skills. Anyone almost is for wood construction. Anyone, first day even you have no experience. On the first day you learn in a field for a few days, then you know how to do wood construction. Easy to pick up. Okay? And also it's easy to fix. You can use saw, nail. Okay, not much requirement, right? And also if you it's relatively easy to cut because of soft material, right? Okay, and then versus like when we do metal frame, light-gauge metal frame, the cutting, even when we do connection part, is spending more time or much literally more difficult because instead of using nail, you gotta use screw, right? Take more times, and also the tools for doing cutting, bring together also have require more skill level for the person who work on that. And then with CMU, concrete masonry unit, that even require more labor level. I mean, the skill level of the labor, because how do you line up the wall to make sure when they build it doesn't make the wall tilt, right? Make it straight, right? Build up like a straight wall rather than wall crooked wall, right? And then they need to put rebar, right? When they have to put rebar reinforcing, and they also have to do the concrete fill, to the each CMU block. So all those require specialty. Okay? So now in America, we have a lot of houses built by owner, so-called owner build. Now for wood construction, that is good for owner builder. That means the owner by yourself, you want to do things by your own. And wood will be the most easier way to work because you can afford to make mistake. Okay, wood, you make a mistake, fix it, or you buy a new piece of wood to cut it again, do it again. You can afford the mistake on that. And versus when you do concrete, when you do light-gauge frame, it will cost you much more. And sometimes in Hawaii, we will say you cannot afford the mistake because when you start making mistake, when you redo it, each time it costs you money. Okay, but for very commonly, that's why in Hawaii, most wood house construction is by wood because it's easy to do. Now, the light-gauge frame is interesting. The light-gauge frame actually works almost like a wood, but it just requires different tools, different set of tools, different saw, different nail, screw, like almost different set of tools doing it. Now, I have heard that some contractor they like to use metal frame because they feel that's easier. Now, this is like kind of like related to like the contractor, what kind of project they do it most time, okay, or they do it more, and they're used to which type of construction. Now, for contractor, if they always do wood, and now we ask them to switch to do light-gauge frame, sure, for them it's very difficult because they have to learn all this new stuff and they have to buy all the new tools, and they got to practice how to put screw to the frame. So all those will make them spend more time. So to those people, definitely they will tell you, no, if you go metal frame, it costs more. But somehow if you go into a contractor, they always do, like say commercial project, they always do a metal frame. They have all set of the tools for metal frame, and they have the whole team of doing that. But maybe the cost for them is not that much higher than doing wood. But go to the last one for concrete, CMU. Okay, CMU wall, CMU construction. That will cost a little bit higher because it does require more labor skill, right? And also require more time when they do the wall construction. Okay. Now, and then also is For doing a wood wall and metal framework, the same thing happens. Is you need to do insulation. Especially when we do exterior wall, we need to do insulation. The fiberglass, foam, all different type. Well, versus with CMU wall doesn't need to, but CMU wall itself is the concrete, is block the heat. Actually, the heat they store the heat inside the material, during daytime, and then nighttime the heat going back out. So by itself, the nature of this, this material is what we call heat sink. That means you can store the heat. But versus the wood construction, metal construction, you need to add insulation material to the wall, to the wall cavity. Okay, and then now we'll talk about maintenance for wood. You always need to make continue maintenance for termites, right? Okay, because every 2-3 years you gotta do a termite treat. Now versus metal frame, CMU wall, you don't need, right? It's almost termite free. Okay? So this is the difference. Now, and again, all different type of construction, they have a pros and cons. And can we do mix? Yes. Okay. And I've seen is when we do 2-story house, a lot of owner will choose, let's say first floor is CMU, concrete wall construction for exterior wall, and inside is wood, and the second floor is wood construction. Now for doing that, it does increase the cost, but the good part is they eliminate, the majority of the termite problem. At least all the ground termite won't go up to the second floor. So for these, like the way they do this, money they put it in, it will work. But now for some owner, if you only do one small addition, and you want to save some money, and you're doing for your own, then wood construction may be the more easy way to do, right? But if you're doing something like, okay, I have doing for commercial use, right? That will be another concern. And so this will be the different material. Okay, is sometimes you gotta match with your contractor. You gotta see who is your contractor and what is your use. And if you want to know more information, okay, welcome to calling us for the discussion, and I'll give you more idea. Thank you very much.